going to start this conversation by looking at some of the things that we talked about in class. Um, so for this class, one of the topics that stuck out to me most notably was when we decided to talk about free will versus, like how responsible are we for those actions? And I found like most of the people agreed that we have some sense of free will, that they couldn't conceptualize the idea that there was no free will. And in my opinion, we when I look at it, I think that we don't have free will. We have very little free will, and maybe on a scale like the spectrum that we drew, there was only 1% free will. But the thing that I didn't like was that there was a distinction between having no free will and being unresponsible for your actions, or having complete free will and being totally responsible for the actions that you make. And I think it's the complete opposite. I feel like we have very little free will. Maybe out of the whole spectrum of life, we have 5% free will. But that makes us more responsible for the actions that we make, because when you're given very few options, you have to weigh those options dramatically, and when your free will is taken away and you only have one or two options to make, the one or two options you make, you're completely responsible for. Whereas if you have complete free will and you're given an infinite amount of options, like you're given 1,000 options, how can you be responsible for those decisions that you've been making? Because you don't know the outcome. At least with one or two decisions with a lack of free will, you know the outcome of those actions. And I don't think that the kids in our class are using any type of logical thinking or outside thinking. They're just going along with the group. And I feel like the discussions would be so much more invigorating if they decided to make decisions that went against the grain. If they, could go against what the teacher said, with them only being presented with the option that, you have complete responsibility if you have free will, or you have no responsibility because you have no free will, and they just conform to those ideas. And I think that they would gain so much more if they stopped looking at the options they were given and came up with their own options. And that whole idea of free will has just been sticking with me this whole time. It's been like 2 weeks since that discussion, and I think it's really important for not only for me and the class to understand, but for everyone in society, in the school, and Richmond, everywhere, to understand that just because you're given two options that fit with what everyone else thinks, there's more options out there. You can pick your own options and not to just follow what everyone else is doing. And then that brought me to like some of the stuff that we were talking in class, and when we're discussing things like data and experiential like things, they just view it as one way. And I feel like it can be taught in a classroom to understand more options in the world. Like, they can't be taught to know what that is. They have to know it on their own. But I feel like we and I can't even say I'm an authority figure, but people in the power to influence others have a responsibility to help them become more functioning adults, especially in this class where they're supposed to think about ethics and things like that. The kids in this class need to understand what it means to be a good person, not just because they're given an option or told what a good person is, but to actually fully comprehend what being a good person is. And I think that'll be my goal for the rest of the semester, to help them come up with ideas that don't really fit in with what other people think, and also to question authority, to question the peers in their class, to question life, to look outside the box. And I hope additional classes in college, they say people get more, a broader range of ideas and more life experience when they go to college. But I think with age, they should learn. And hopefully with the classes they're taking, they'll gain a greater idea of what being a good person is, and a greater idea about what, makes a classroom exciting. So